Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, January 17th, 2026. And, the vibe right now it's just intense. It feels like we are living through this, I don't know, a daily explosion of advancements in large language models.
It's relentless, isn't it? There's no pause button.
There really isn't. And we've moved way past that initial, that wow factor of the early ChatGPT days, back in 2023 or 2024. That was all about, look what it can do.
Right, it was a party trick, a very, very impressive party trick, but still.
Exactly. Now, these tools are just, they're woven into the fabric of reality. It's like electricity or running water. You don't even notice it's there until, for some reason, it's gone.
It really is a historical pivot point. We're seeing technologies that were, theoretical papers just 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're effectively running world infrastructure. It's staggering.
It is. And usually when we talk about this tech on the show, we're obsessive over, healthcare breakthroughs, which granted are absolutely incredible. Or we're talking about how autonomous vehicles have finally figured out how to navigate a roundabout without having a complete meltdown.
A major milestone.
A major milestone, yes.
Yeah.
But today, we are pivoting. We are looking at what our sources, and we've got a whole stack of them. Articles from Netizen, these really deep dives from Paramendra's blog, what they're all calling the, quote, crowning achievement of this whole AI revolution. And it's not the self-driving car. It's global education.
It sounds like such a bold claim when you first hear it, doesn't it? Because education, let's be honest, it usually feels like the sector that changes the slowest. It's the most resistant to change.
Glacial pace.
Yeah.
Usually. You have institutions that are hundreds of years old.
Right. But when you stack the sources we have today, and they cover everything from the freemium-first business model to this almost philosophical concept of the age of abundance, the argument is incredibly strong. And it's powerful.
So what is the argument?
They're saying education is the killer app because it's the substrate. It's the foundation for everything else. If you can genuinely fix learning on a global scale, you fix healthcare, you fix engineering, you fix policy, you fix the root system.
Okay, you mentioned the age of abundance. That phrase, it carries a lot of weight. It sounds almost, biblical.
Well, it's funny you say that. According to the source material, the concept actually was prophesied in some scriptures thousands of years ago. But let's strip away the mysticism for a second.
Okay.
The context here is purely economic and technological. For all of human history, high-quality knowledge was a scarce resource. It was locked up. You had to be in the right building with the right human at the right time.
You had to get into Harvard or Oxford or have a brilliant and probably very expensive tutor.
Exactly. It was a privilege. What the sources are arguing is that technology has finally caught up to that ancient prophecy. We are entering a phase where access to high-level expertise is effectively infinite. It's utility.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack exactly how AI is democratizing that knowledge. We're going to look at the death of the one-size-fits-all classroom, which is long overdue.
Oh, long overdue.
And we're going to break down this fascinating economic concept that I'm obsessed with called the reverse Tesla model.
Which is the exact opposite of how Silicon Valley usually works. It's a complete flip of the script.
It really is. So buckle up. The goal today is to understand why this isn't just about making schools faster or more efficient. As one of the sources put it, and I love this, it's not about breeding faster horses, it's about building a completely new vehicle for human growth.
That analogy is perfect. It captures the paradigm shift. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the problem we all know, the one we've all lived through. This one-size-fits-all trap, and we've all been there, right? You're 15 years old, you're sitting in a classroom, the teacher is droning on about, calculus, or maybe it's Shakespeare.
And you are just staring at the clock, praying for the bell to ring, just willing it to move faster.
Exactly. You don't get it. The explanation just isn't landing. But the class has to keep moving because there's a curriculum to get through. There's a test on Friday, so you get left behind. And what's the internal narrative that starts playing in your head?
I'm dumb.
I'm dumb.
I'm just not a math person. Or I can't do science.
Yeah.
That internal narrative is a tragedy. It's a quiet little tragedy that happens millions of times a day all over the world. And our sources argue really powerfully that this feeling of being dumb is actually a failure of the factory model of education, not a failure of the student.
The factory model, that's such a good way to put it.
It is. The traditional system assumes that 30 kids with 30 different brains, 30 different home lives, different backgrounds, different nutrition levels, can all process the exact same explanation, delivered in the exact same way, at the exact same speed. It's insane when you think about it.
It's designed for the convenience of the system, not the person learning.
100%. It's rigid. But the sources claim AI completely destroys this framework, specifically through something they call radical personalization. Now, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
We hear the word personalization thrown around a lot in tech. I mean, usually it just means Netflix is recommending a movie I might like because I watch a different action movie. How is this really any different? Is it just a fancier recommendation engine?
That's a great question because it's a completely different category of thing.
Yeah.
This is fundamental. It's not a recommendation engine. It's more like a translation engine for concepts.
Mm-hmm.
The core philosophy here, and this is a quote that runs through all the sources, is no learner is inherently dumb. They just learn differently.
Mm.
AI has the capacity to adapt a lesson in real time. It doesn't just repeat the explanation louder if you don't get it. It changes the entry point entirely. It finds a different door into the concept.
There was that specific example in the Netizen article about Google's Learn Your Way platform that I thought was just brilliant. It really made it all click for me.
The aha moment engine.
Yeah. That's what it is. Okay, so take a standard physics lesson. Newton's laws. Force equals mass times acceleration. In a textbook, what do you get? You get a diagram of a block sliding down a generic inclined plane.
Oh, God, the inclined plane. With friction coefficient mu. It's so dry, it's so boring.
It's terrible. It's completely divorced from reality for most kids.
Right. But let's say the AI tutor knows, because it's your personalized tutor, it's been with you for years, that you are obsessed with basketball. You watch every game, you know every player.
Okay, so the AI scraps the inclined plane. It just throws it out. It knows that metaphor doesn't land for you. It's useless.
So what does it do instead?
Instead, it explains Newton's laws through the mechanics of a Steph Curry jump shot. It talks about the arc of the ball. It discusses the force applied to the ball by the wrist, the effect of gravity acting on it during its flight, the backspin creating lift because of the Magnus effect. And suddenly, the physics isn't some abstract theory in a book. It's the mechanics of something you already love and understand intuitively. You've watched that shot 1,000 times. Now you understand the math behind it.
But what if I don't care about sports?
Yeah?
What if I'm, I don't know, an artist or a musician? I couldn't care about basketball.
Then the AI pivots instantly, no problem. It explains the exact same laws of dynamics through the viscosity of mixing different kinds of paints on a canvas, or through the structural integrity of a large-scale sculpture and how it deals with wind load. Or it'll explain it through the vibration of a violin string and how frequency creates pitch.
So the core concept, Newton's laws, that remains the universal truth. That doesn't change.
It's immutable.
But the metaphor used to explain it, the story, the wrapper,
Sure.
that changes to match your brain's unique wiring.
Precisely. It finds the hook that's already in your mind and attaches the new information to it.
And this goes way beyond just text, doesn't it? I mean, this
Sure.
isn't just a chatbot rewriting a paragraph for you.
No, and that's the key distinction for where we are in 2026. We're talking about true multimodal generation. If you're a visual learner, the AI generates an interactive diagram or a mind map on the fly that you can manipulate.
You can zoom in, you can click on things.
Yeah. If you're an auditory learner, it spins up a podcast-style explanation, like the one we're doing right now, with a voice you find engaging. If you need practice, it doesn't just give you a worksheet. It generates a custom simulation where you can actually adjust the variables. You can change the mass of the basketball or the angle of the shot and see the result in real time.
So it builds the curriculum around you moment by moment, rather than forcing you into a pre-built static curriculum.
That's it. It's a living curriculum.
Though, does it actually work?
Yeah.
Or is this all just a really cool party trick? What does the data say?
The data is, well, it's conclusive at this point. The studies are pouring in. Students using these AI-driven platforms are consistently outperforming their peers in traditional settings. And not just on test scores, which is interesting, but specifically in two areas: confidence and long-term recall.
Confidence and recall. Why those two?
Well, the confidence comes from finally feeling like you're not dumb. The system is meeting you where you are, so you succeed. The recall comes from what the sources are calling a shift from rote memorization to resonant learning.
Resonant learning. I like that.
It's this idea that you're not just cramming for the test and then forgetting everything on Saturday morning. The information sticks because it matters to you. It connects to those hooks that already exist in your brain. It resonates.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, usually when we talk about solving education or these high-tech tools, my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds, immediately picture the developing world, We think of rural villages without schools, trying to leapfrog over the lack of physical infrastructure.
And that is a huge, huge part of this story. You can't ignore it. The sources are quick to point out that the crisis there is just staggering. Over 250 million children globally are completely out of school.
That number is,
Hmm.
it's hard to even visualize. 250 million? It's almost the population of the entire United States.
It's the population of a very large country, just not learning. And for those who are in school, especially in the global south, the quality of education varies wildly. A teacher might have 100 kids in a classroom.
Wow.
And this is where we run into the risk of the AI divide. It's a real danger. The fear is that if this tech is expensive and only for the wealthy, we just create a parallel species of super-educated elite, and the gap gets even wider.
But the sources seem optimistic about the smartphone being the great equalizer in places like rural Kenya or Bangladesh.
They are, because the penetration of mobile phones is almost total now. And an AI tutor has what one source calls infinite patience.
Infinite patience. That's the killer feature, isn't it?
Yeah. It is the killer feature. No human teacher, no matter how saintly or dedicated they are, has infinite patience. Eventually, they get frustrated, they get tired. But in AI, you can ask it to explain the same concept 50 times in 50 different ways at 2 in the morning. It doesn't judge you, it doesn't get tired, it just keeps trying to find a way in.
But here is where the sources completely threw me a curveball. Because we tend to frame these education deserts as something far away, a problem over there.
Ah.
But the expert in our source material points to a massive, and I mean massive, crisis right here in the United States.
This is the statistic that just stops you in your tracks. I think in the West, we often have this arrogance that education is a solved problem here, but the education desert isn't just in the Sahara, it's in the U.S. heartland. It's in our cities.
So what's the number?
According to the data, somewhere between 19 and 21% of U.S. high school graduates, I want to repeat that, people with a diploma are functionally illiterate.
Wait, let's just pause on that for a second. Functionally illiterate. These are people who graduated. They walked across the stage, they got the piece of paper.
Yes. They cannot read above a 5th grade level. They can't understand the instructions on a bottle of medicine. They can't read a bus schedule. They have similar deficits in basic math and logic. They were passed through the system. Maybe they were socially promoted to keep them with their age group, but the system fundamentally failed to imprint the necessary skills.
And the economic impact of that? What is it?
It's astronomical. The sources estimate that this deficit costs the U.S. economy up to $2.2 trillion annually.
2.2 trillion. That's the entire GDP of a medium-sized country.
Right.
That's just money left on the table because a huge chunk of the population can't participate fully in the modern economy.
It is. It's a drag on everything. But the human cost, I think, is even worse. And the word that kept coming up in the sources was shame. Think about it. If you are a 40-year-old man, a father, and you struggle to read a menu at a restaurant or a manual for a tool you need for work, you aren't going to walk into a remedial classroom at a community center on a Tuesday night. The social stigma is just too high. So you hide it, you fake it, you develop all these complex coping mechanisms.
And that's where this phrase from the sources really stuck with me. They called it discrete remediation.
Exactly. This is the killer use case for mobile AI in the domestic market for this hidden population. You can be sitting on the bus, on your lunch break, and to everyone else, it looks like you're just texting or playing a game on your phone.
But you're actually not.
You're actually catching up on basic literacy and numeracy that you missed 25 years ago. There is no judgment. There is no human witness to your struggle. It allows those 45 to 54 million affected adults to reclaim their education on their own terms, with dignity.
So the phone, which we usually think of as a device of distraction, becomes a private tutor that keeps your secret while helping you fix the problem.
Precisely. It turns a device of distraction into a device of redemption. I love that phrasing.
I do too. Okay, so we've established who we are teaching, everyone, everywhere, and why it's so critical. But the sources also tackle the what. With all this incredible tech, do we just teach the same old stuff? Does the curriculum itself need to change?
This is what the sources call the curriculum trap. It's so easy to get bogged down in endless debates about what the perfect curriculum is. Should we teach this version of history or that version, this philosophy or that one?
The curriculum wars.
The curriculum wars, exactly. And the expert advice in the sources is surprisingly pragmatic, almost refreshingly simple. Don't overcomplicate it, especially at first. Start with the universal basics.
Math, science, logic, the hard stuff.
Right, the stuff that's not really up for debate. because gravity is gravity in New York, Nairobi, or New Delhi. Arithmetic doesn't change when you cross a border. The principles of biology are consistent. These subjects require minimal cultural localization compared to, say, history or literature, which are deeply and rightly tied to local culture and perspective.
So the strategy is simplicity accelerates impact. Get the foundational stuff right first.
Yes. Don't try to reinvent the wheel or create some controversial new global history curriculum on day one. Just use the incredible power of AI to deliver Newton's laws effectively to billions of people first. Get that baseline of scientific and logical literacy up across the entire planet. That alone would be revolutionary.
But you can't ignore culture entirely, especially when it comes to language. I mean, with over 7,000 languages in the world, how does a single AI platform even begin to teach everyone effectively? The sources use this beautiful metaphor that I really loved, linguistic diversity as biodiversity.
It's a profound way to look at it, isn't it? We often think of languages as just being different sets of words for the same things. Water is agua or pani. But the sources argue they aren't just simple swaps.
Right.
Languages are entire systems of cognition. A language is like a biological ecosystem, like the Amazon rainforest. It contains unique ways of solving problems, of viewing time, of understanding relationships between objects and people. Each one is a treasure trove.
But the stats on this are pretty worrying. The sources say that of those 7,000 plus languages, something like 40% are endangered. They could be gone in a generation.
And that's not just a cultural loss, it's a cognitive loss for humanity. We're deleting unique problem-solving approaches. And on a practical level, an even bigger issue is that 40% of students globally are trying to learn in a language that isn't their native tongue.
Imagine that. Imagine trying to learn calculus, which is already hard enough.
In a language you only half understand.
It's like you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back. It caps your potential immediately. You're spending 50% of your brain power just trying to decode the sentence, which leaves only 50% for the actual math.
You're doomed to mediocrity from the start, no matter how brilliant you might be.
So how does AI fix this? Because, translation tools have been around for a while. Google Translate is old news.
This is a leap beyond that. This isn't just word-for-word translation, it's cultural reasoning. The sources highlight a specific partnership that really shows where this technology is going. A collaboration between Anthropic, the makers of the Claude model, and an Indian company called Sarvam AI.
Sarvam. They're the leaders in Indic languages, right?
So here's the setup. Claude is incredibly smart. It has these high-level reasoning capabilities. It scores 96% accuracy in major global languages like English or Spanish. But India is a whole different level of linguistic puzzle.
How so?
You have this phenomenon called code mixing, where people will literally switch between Hindi and English or Tamil and English mid-sentence. It's completely normal. On top of that, you have dialects that can change dramatically every 50 kilometers. A standard model trained on textbook Hindi would be totally lost.
So Claude provides the raw intelligence, the brain, and Sarvam provides the local knowledge, the tongue.
That's a great way to put it. Sarvam specializes in that on-the-ground complexity. By partnering, they created a hybrid model that doesn't just translate words. It translates meaning across 11 to 22 different Indian languages, and it perfectly handles that code mixing and all the cultural nuance.
So what does that mean for a student?
It means a student in a rural village in India can ask a complex question about physics in their local dialect, maybe mixing in some English words they picked up, and the AI understands them perfectly, and it responds with a world-class explanation in that same natural, local dialect without losing any of the subtlety of the original concept. It's a bridge.
That is huge. And there was this other kind of radical idea mentioned in the sources about how to power all of this. They called it ethical voice data. Because usually to get that kind of linguistic nuance, you need to record millions of people talking. And that sounds a little spooky.
It does, yeah. It immediately triggers the privacy alarm bells. But this connects back to the fundamental problem of how we train these models. To get an AI to understand the real way people speak, not just the perfect textbook version of a language, but all the dialects, the accents, the slang, you need massive amounts of raw data.
So what's the ethical approach?
The concept here is to leverage anonymized voice data from smartphones, things like background noise, general speech patterns, but, and this is the crucial part, to process it on device.
So the actual audio of my voice never leaves my phone. It's not being uploaded to a server somewhere.
Exactly. The learning, the analysis, happens locally on the chip in your phone, and only the resulting mathematical patterns, the abstract weights, are sent back to the central AI to improve the collective model. Your privacy isn't violated, but the collective intelligence of the system grows.
So it's listening to learn how to listen better, but without actually spying on the content of my conversations.
Without spying, that's the very fine needle they have to thread to build public trust.
Okay, so we have the tech. We have a starting point for the curriculum. Now, let's talk about the money, because none of this happens for free. This is where the sources introduce this concept I mentioned earlier, the reverse Tesla model. And I love this because usually in tech, we worship at the altar of the Tesla model.
It's the Silicon Valley Bible. It's chapter 1.
Right. The Tesla master plan is legendary. Elon Musk famously laid it out. Step 1, build an expensive, low-volume luxury car, the Roadster. Sell it to rich people at a ridiculously high margin. Step 2, use that profit to fund R&D to build a slightly cheaper mid-volume car. Step 3, use that money to eventually build a mass-market affordable car for everyone. It's a top-down waterfall.
And to be fair, that model works for hardware. Manufacturing cars is incredibly capital-intensive. You need those initial high margins just to survive the cost of building the factories.
True.
Yeah.
But the sources argue that for something like AI and education, you have to flip that script entirely. You have to lead with a freemium-first model.
So why? Is it just, a charitable impulse? Is it just about being nice?
No, and this is the brilliant part. It's actually cold, hard strategy. There are two reasons. First, there's the moral one, which we shouldn't dismiss. Knowledge, many would argue, is a human right. If you start with a product that costs thousands of dollars a year, you automatically exclude the education desert populations we just spent all that time talking about. You bake in inequality from day one.
Okay, that's the ethical argument. What's the strategic one?
The strategic one is what the sources call the data flywheel.
Ah, right. The data. It always comes back to the data.
It always does. These AI models don't get smarter by magic. They get smarter by processing diverse, complex data. If you only sell your fancy AI tutor to rich kids in private schools in Switzerland, your AI only learns how rich kids in Switzerland learn. It becomes incredibly smart, but also incredibly biased and fragile.
It wouldn't understand the slang of a kid in the Bronx or the code-mixing sentence structure of a student in Mumbai we just talked about.
Exactly. And that ultimately makes the product worse, even for the rich kid in Switzerland. So by giving the basic version of the tool away for free to billions of people, you ingest a massive, unprecedented diversity of data. Different accents, different learning styles, common misconceptions across thousands of cultures. That data makes the core AI infinitely more powerful and robust for everyone.
So the strategy is democratize access first to perfect the intelligence, and then you can figure out how to monetize the advanced features.
Precisely. You monetize the upsells. Think of the companies that were the prototypes for this model, like Duolingo or Khan Academy. They're the blueprints. Or more modern examples like Bottle Learning and Newsela. You hook millions of users with the essential learning tools for free. Then maybe you charge institutions for advanced analytics dashboards for their classrooms, or you charge power users for highly specialized, customized features.
Even OpenAI followed this trajectory, didn't they? ChatGPT was free for everyone at first. That was the data collection phase. Then came the paid tiers, GPT-4, the team features.
It's the exact same playbook.
Yeah.
They needed the mass usage from the free tier to train the model to be good enough to be worth paying for. And the market potential here isn't small change. We are looking at the AI education market growing from roughly, $7 to $9 billion in 2025?
To somewhere between 32 billion and some estimates go as high as 137 billion by the early 2030s.
That is a massive, massive jump.
It is. It's a truly virtuous cycle, economically speaking. Broad adoption leads to more data, which leads to a better AI, which in turn drives more premium conversions. The free users make the paid product better.
It also requires breaking down these traditional silos we have. The sources make a big point that the for-profit and nonprofit worlds need to stop looking at each other with so much suspicion.
Yes. This problem is too big for any one sector to solve. You need genuine collaboration. The sources point to examples like ARM, the company that designs the chips in almost every smartphone, partnering with UNICEF, or a tech company like PagerDuty partnering with a nonprofit accelerator. Fast forward, you have consortiums like One EdTech popping up to ensure all these different tools can talk to each other, to ensure interoperability.
So you need the scale and the capital of the for-profits combined with the mission and the on-the-ground reach of the nonprofits to actually pull this off.
You can't do it without both.
Okay, I want to address the elephant in the room now. Because every single time we talk about AI in education, there is one group of people that gets very, very nervous, and rightfully so.
Teachers.
Naturally, it's their livelihood.
The fear is palpable.
Ah.
Will AI replace me? Am I going to be made obsolete? Is a robot going to take my job and my pension? It's a completely valid fear, and it's happening in many industries. But the verdict from our sources, when it comes to education specifically, is a pretty definitive no, but, and this is a very big but, your role as a teacher is going to change drastically.
So AI is not a replacement.
It is a co-pilot. That's the term they use over and over. A co-pilot.
Okay, unpack that for me. What does that actually mean in the classroom?
Well, think about all the parts of teaching that are just drudgery, the stuff that burns teachers out and makes them leave the profession, grading hundreds of essays on a weekend, creating 5 different versions of a lesson plan for 5 different ability levels in your class. Every single night.
The routine assessments, the data entry, the endless paperwork.
AI automates all of that. It handles the transfer of information part of the job and the evaluation of data part. It does all the heavy lifting of the logistics and the administration that currently consumes, what, 30–40% of a teacher's time?
So what does the human do? If the robot is the one teaching Newton's laws with the basketball analogy, what am I, the teacher, doing?
The human gets a promotion. The human becomes a super teacher. Freed from all that paperwork, the teacher can finally focus on the things that humans are uniquely good at. Mentoring, providing emotional support, leading creative, collaborative projects, fostering complex critical thinking and ethical debates.
The human stuff.
The human stuff, the stuff AI can't do. McKinsey did a big study on this, and they noted that reducing these low-level administrative burdens significantly increases the amount of time for meaningful, one-on-one teacher-student interaction.
So instead of spending your entire Sunday grading a stack of papers, you can spend your Monday actually sitting down and talking to the 5 students who are really struggling with a concept.
Exactly. Look at the real-world example of Cengage's Gen AI student assistant. That tool reached over 1 million students way back in 2025. And what does it do? It doesn't just help the student. It provides these incredible reflective insights to the teacher.
What kind of insight?
It gives them a dashboard that says, hey, just so you know, half the class didn't understand this specific concept in Chapter 4 about cellular mitosis. So the teacher doesn't have to guess. They know exactly where the confusion is, and they can intervene surgically the next day in class. It turns the teacher from a blunt instrument trying to teach everyone at once into a precision instrument targeting the exact points of failure.
I like that image. From a blunt object to a surgical instrument.
Ah.
Now, moving on, there's another analogy the sources absolutely love, and it's the car versus the horse.
This one is really about framing the shift to lifelong learning. The analogy is simple but powerful. Traditional education, the system we have now, is the horse.
Okay.
It has biological limits, it requires constant care, it's hard to scale, and most importantly, you ride the horse for a certain period of your life, kindergarten through 12th grade, maybe college, and then you get off. The ride is over.
And then you're just walking for the rest of your life. Good luck out there.
Right. Good luck navigating a rapidly changing world on foot. AI education, on the other hand, is the car. It doesn't just make the journey faster, it completely redefines mobility. It's not just a faster horse, it's a whole new mode of transport. It brings speed, efficiency, and a range that was previously unimaginable.
And in 2026, we're really seeing the reality of what people are calling Education 4.0. This idea that learning doesn't and shouldn't stop when you're 22.
The current system, the horse system, basically dumps people on the side of the road after college. But the economy is changing so fast now that skills become obsolete in 5, maybe 7 years. The 2026 reality is a 50-year-old factory worker using an app on their phone to reskill in AI ethics during their bus commute.
Or a retiree who always wanted to understand quantum physics, finally learning it through an interactive simulation on their tablet, just for the sheer joy of it.
Exactly. And this connects back directly to the voice interface we were talking about earlier with the language issue.
Right, because that breaks down even more barriers.
Yes. This is crucial for breaking age and literacy barriers. My 7-year-old father, for example, he might be intimidated by a complex text-based interface or a keyboard. It feels alien to him. But if he can just talk to the AI, if he can just say, hey, can you explain to me how interest rates work? The input is natural speech, and the output is a clear audio explanation.
It opens up the world of learning to the non-literate and the elderly in a way that a textbook or even a website never could.
It democratizes the interface itself, not just the knowledge, but the very act of accessing it.
The market numbers here are also just They're staggering.
The global e-learning market is projected to hit nearly $400 billion by 2026. It's a massive industry, and the institutions that are getting on board are seeing huge returns. Universities that are adopting AI are reporting 30% better student outcomes, and on the back end, 40 to 60% administrative savings.
So it's a win for the student and a win for the institution's budget.
It's a win-win. It's one of those rare cases where the incentives are aligned.
However, we can't be naive about this. It's not all sunshine and personalized physics lessons. There are some very real challenges and risks.
Significant ones. And the sources are very clear about not ignoring them. We've already touched on the big one, the AI divide. If we don't get the reverse Tesla freemium model right, the rich just get smarter and the poor get left even further behind. The gap becomes a chasm.
And then there's the issue of biased algorithms. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. If the data that we feed into the AI to train it is biased, if it's full of historical prejudices or cultural blind spots, then the teaching the AI delivers will be biased. It will perpetuate those same prejudices on a global scale, which is a terrifying thought.
And privacy, that's the other huge one.
It's paramount. We are talking about collecting data on how children learn, their mistakes, their strengths, their interests. Protecting that student data has to be non-negotiable. We need digital fortresses around it.
The sources do mention that there are frameworks being developed to try and manage these risks, things like UNESCO's Framework for Human-Centered AI or the Brookings Institute's Prosper, Prepare, Protect model.
Right. And this is where regulation becomes necessary. This can't just be a Wild West run by tech companies. Policymakers have to collaborate with educators and ethicists to ensure we have safety rails on this incredibly powerful car that we are building. We need a DMV, we need traffic laws, we need to make sure it doesn't crash.
So let's try and bring it all home. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the incredible personalization of a Learn Your Way platform to the brilliant economic engine of the reverse Tesla model and the absolute moral imperative to solve that $2.2 trillion illiteracy crisis.
When you put it all together, the final vision here is that AI in education is not just a technical win. It's not just a cool new gadget. It's a societal reset. It's a chance to turn education from a privileged something determined by your birth zip code or your parents' income into a universally available public utility.
Like water, like electricity.
The democratization of genius. That's the ultimate promise.
Exactly. I want to leave our listeners with a thought that really struck me while I was reading through all these articles. A provocative question. If AI can truly teach anyone anything at any age just using their voice, if the transfer of knowledge is effectively a solved problem, then what happens to schools? I mean, do we still need the physical building?
It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Maybe the purpose of the building has to change. Maybe the school stops being a place you go to for facts and information, and it starts being a place you go to for humanity.
What do you mean by that?
It becomes a community center, a place for sports, for debate, for art, for learning collaboration, for navigating social conflict. You know, all the messy, beautiful stuff that AI can't do. The learning of facts happens everywhere else all the time. The school is for learning how to be a human around other humans.
And for you, listening right now, just think about this for a second. If you had an infinite, patient, genius tutor in your pocket, someone who could explain astrophysics using your love of basketball, or teach you coding through the patterns of knitting, what would you finally learn? What is that one thing you've always felt too dumb to even try? Because in 2026, that excuse is gone.
The age of abundance is here. Go learn something.
Thanks for diving in. We'll see you next time.